real estate warriors. Today we're going to talk about how much money you get to keep after selling your house. We'll also talk about buyers, what to expect as far as closing costs. What are the items on that net sheet? You oftentimes will get that from your escrow company and you're like, I have no idea what these line items mean. So we're going to go through a net sheet. We're going to prepare you for how much it's going to cost and how much you get back. Let's get into it. Now, most important thing you can do if you're buying or selling a house and you want to know how much it's going to cost is you ask for a net sheet. Now in California, we work with escrow companies. I know there's other states that work with attorneys, but your lender should, if you're working with a lender, should be able to provide you a net sheet. And these are estimated costs just to give you a ballpark as to how much it's going to cost. Like you need to know that going in. In today's video, I'm going to give you some traditional costs and some estimates on some of my net sheets and kind of what each line item means because it's a little confusing. And this is actually really tailor-made for my own clients. So when they call and they ask me, Audra, can we go over the net sheet? Of course I will. But I'm going to be sending them this video explaining exactly what's on that net sheet and what to expect. So the first line item on this net sheet, I'll put it on the screen for you, is prorated property taxes. And so how it works with my escrow company, and I think most escrow companies are similar, is they will charge the seller the first installment payment of their property taxes. And then you'll notice that on your closing statement, if you are a seller, the buyer will then credit you back a prorated amount. Okay, so it is your responsibility to pay for that first installment. You will get a prorated amount credited back on your account, and they're basing that proration on a 365-day year with a 30-day month. All right, the next line item is commissions, and you will notice it says listing agent, which is the agent who's representing the seller, and the seller's agent or the selling agent, and that is the agent who's representing the buyer. For all intents and purposes, I'm using a commission of 2.5% on either side, and that's a total of 5% based off the sales price. Okay, operative word there is these commissions are based off the sales amount of the property. Full disclosure that commissions are not set. Okay, that's something that you're going to work with your listing agent. Once again, I'm highly going to recommend that you interview minimum of 3 listing agents. I will link some questions that if you are selling your house, you should be asking these questions, okay? So link down below, ask these questions, choose wisely. It's an expensive service and you should be getting top-notch representation. So don't go down and hire the soccer mom or somebody that, just throws you a business card. Like, do your due diligence. This is so important to have proper representation. You're probably going to pay the same amount of money for, half-rate agent as you will a full-time agent that knows what they're doing. So do your due diligence. Okay, I'm done with my infomercial. And of course, hire me if you're in my area. The next line item is title charges. Now, it's good to know that the title insurance area is governed by the Board of Insurance. So you're not going to see a lot of fluctuation in prices. All the insurance companies should be relatively close in price. If you are a veteran or a government employee of some sort, there are some discounts for you, so ask your title rep about that. But for the most part, escrow and title are pretty close in cost, but what's really important to know is that they're based off the sales price of the home. That's why it's so important to negotiate as low as you can on that sales price because commissions are based off of that, escrow charges are based off that, so negotiate well on that sales price because there's a lot of costs that are associated with that sales price. So another fee, at least here in California, is we have a state transfer fee. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to pay it. It can run, I think it's around $1,200. It depends, right? So you need to know what that fee is in advance. Once again, highly recommend that you get a net sheet by your escrow company. They have a better understanding of what those fees can be. It's expensive to sell your house. Okay, the next line item on this net sheet are escrow services. So I'm going to give you a quick calculation. I'll put the equation down below too in case you can't write it down quick enough. But you take the sales price, you divide by 1,000, you times by $2, and you add $600, okay? Whatever that number computes out to be is your escrow fees. And I'll just tell you that escrow and title fees are very close in price. Once you get past $1.5 million, the title fees are a little bit less than escrow fees. But for the most part, that is a great place to start trying to figure out your escrow fees. But of course, you're going to ask your escrow company for a net sheet before you even put your house on the market so you know what those fees are. On the net sheet, you might see a pest control category, which is in our area known as termite, termite inspection. It is customary for the seller to provide termite in my area. Not all people do. I'm just telling you what I do. There is a clearance oftentimes that is written into the contract, and so the seller needs to get the property cleared of any termite or living organisms, and then there is actually a certificate. I'd say it ranges around, I don't know, $125 to $285 depending on the termite company. The work typically is paid outside of escrow, although some companies, termite companies, have been willing to get paid through escrow, but there's a line item for that, and it's going to vary with every house. Now, another line item you might see on a net sheet is a home warranty plan. So in my area, it is very customary for the seller to provide a home warranty to the buyer, and I like to say that it's probably the cheapest insurance policy that the seller can give to the buyer. I mean, it's like Murphy's Law, right? As soon as we close escrow, things are going to start breaking, and you don't want the buyer to come back to the seller and say, hey, you didn't disclose that all these things weren't working. But if things don't work, you have a policy to cover it, and of course your buyer did a home inspection, and so they would know if those things were functioning during that period of time. It's just a good idea. It's goodwill and good security measure. I suggest it for my homeowners, and if you're listening to my video, I would say it's a good thing to invest in. Not required to, but you can sleep better at night. So in California, we are required by law to have the sellers provide a natural hazard disclosure to the buyers. And what is a natural hazard disclosure? Well, just Google it, you can check it out. But it tells you all there is to know in the surrounding area, how far the airports are, if you're in a liquefaction zone, if you're in an earthquake zone, if you're in a fire zone, yada, 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 yada. It's, if there's any landfills near you. And this is a third party, company that you will order this disclosure for. Typically your agent or their transactional coordinator will order it for you, and it will be provided to the buyer. And that's going to run you, at least in my area, $99 to $125-ish. So be prepared for that fee too. Okay, another line item that's on that net sheet is HOA fees. If you're not in an HOA, you just saved yourself a lot of money. HOA fees are outrageous. I still can't believe that these HOAs charge the amount of money that they do. It's outrageous. And then of course you have to get those HOA docs to your buyer ASAP. So you have a special delivery fee or a rush fee of $175 to $250, depending how urgent it is and how much needs to be provided. So be prepared for that. I just closed an escrow where the HOA fees were over $1,500 because there were multiple HOAs in this one community. So if you're selling your property, I would call your HOA company, know how much that is in advance. It's going to be shocking, so you want to be prepared for it. So on that net sheet, of course, is your loan payoff if you have a mortgage company and you're a seller, okay? So the escrow company will reach out to your lender. They will ask for the totals. Oftentimes there's a nominal fee for paying off the mortgage, so just be aware of that. And if you're a buyer, these fees should be detailed to you immediately once you open escrow. They have to, meaning the lender has to disclose how much all those fees are going to be. Processing fees, any points, blah, 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 blah. Appraisals, all that stuff. That's something that you should know going in. So if you're a buyer and you're using a lender or a mortgage company to finance the purchase of a home, realize that you don't pay a mortgage payment that first month, which is great. Give you a little breathing room, right? However, when you go to sell your house, you will pay that last payment when you go to sell your property. So it's just moved to the rears, right? Let's say you close escrow, however, on, let's say, October 16th. Well, there's 2 other weeks before the next month rolls over. So on your net sheet, you will see, this little notation of prepaid interest. So you are paying that interest on your closing statement if you don't close like on the first of the month or the end of the month, okay? So if you're wondering what that is, it's prepaid interest for the duration of those 2 weeks. I've had a lot of sellers say, Audra, listen, I appreciate your net sheet and all your costs. Just give me a percentage, a round number. How much are my closing costs gonna be in relationship to the sales price? So I say between 6 and 7%. Commissions are going down in general. It's a trend that we're seeing. Prices are going up, so more competition. Commissions are a little bit lower, but realize in that 6 or 7%, that's not including prorated taxes. Be aware of that. But I think that's a decent working number. It's a very estimated round number. And of course, when you do put your house in escrow, there's a lot of things that can be negotiated that's going to affect that 6 to 7%. So if you're a buyer, on average, your closing closing costs are going to be right around 2%, right? That's a rough number. And it's dependent on a lot of things. So, right now rates are a little bit high, so you might want to buy down some points on your loan. So that's going to increase that number a little bit on the higher side. And then let's say you're buying into a community that has an HOA and they have what's called a lifestyle enhancement fee. It's ridiculous. So you pay a one-time huge fee to join the community, to participate in fireworks and fun activities. Some of these communities have it. So it really depends on what community you're buying into, but I think it's safe to say that if you're going to do a rough estimate, calculate 2%. So for you buyers out there, make sure you check your homeowner's insurance immediately once you locate that property. Our insurance premiums are outrageous. I don't care where you are in this area, you have insane insurance costs. So if you happen to purchase a property where there's open space, your closing costs might push the higher end of that 2% into 3%, depending on how much your insurance needs are. If you can't find insurance, I will link down a broker that I've used, very helpful. But getting insurance coverage in my area is very costly and hard to find. By the way, my name is Audra Lambert. For those of you who have not met me before, I'm a top selling agent in Orange County, California. So if you're looking for an agent, I'm for hire. But more importantly, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'd love to assist any way I can. Heed my warning on the escrow companies, okay? There are 3 types of escrow companies: independent, broker-owned, and title has their own escrow services that they wrap around, okay? I would always recommend independent escrow company. They're not influenced by, the broker or title. Like, always go that direction. They're held to a higher standard. They're audited on a regular basis. Their employees are fully scrutinized and have to go through security checks. I will link down below a quick summary it's a checklist that shows you the difference between each escrow company. So there are a lot of discounted escrow companies out there, and this is the one area that I'm going to say don't skimp on the escrow company. Just don't do it. There's a lot of fraudulent behaviors. You need to have the proper people in place. This is an area you don't skimp. I use escrow options. This is not sponsored. My agent is Colleen Mackey. I love her. She is beyond brilliant and has a ton of experience. I will link her information down below, but this is an area you don't want to get that $500 escrow company that could potentially take your money, close shop, because the market's getting a little bit sketchy and you never get your money. So go with somebody who's highly regulated, held to the top standard, worth every penny. Thanks for watching this video. I know that was like a little bit of a lot of numbers and content. And by the way, if any of you have any suggestions for content in the near future, let me know. I'd love to answer your question and assist any way I can. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year.